Hi there, my name is Garrett Morling. My company is Cisco Systems. They build internal computer hardware, and the country I'm exporting to is Japan. So first, some information. Long-term relations between the U.S. and Japan have been mostly positive, excluding World War II. Japan is a nation of about 107 million people. They are an island nation, which means they lack many natural resources, so they rely heavily on imported goods. Japan also has the world's third largest economy behind China. Japan also has the highest rate of mobile commerce in the world. And finally, Japan has no trade agreement with the United States. So the product I'm selling is a solid-state drive. Solid-state drives are a piece of internal computer hardware. They're meant to help retrieve memory faster, and they would replace the standard hard drive in your computer. The relationship between the U.S. and Japan is the foundation for United States interests in Asia. Japan receives no economic assistance from the U.S., and 8.8% of all imported goods to Japan are from the U.S. Increasingly, in the last couple of years, the U.S. and Japan are growing very much interdependent. So for my marketing strategy, I chose indirect marketing. This is the most effective strategy based on a number of reasons. First, the use of a third party reduces overall costs for the company. We see reduced risk in Japan and at home. And we have no need to put together a separate exporting department just for U.S.-Japan relations. Now, the risks of this strategy are the heavy reliance on a third party. We also risk overall reduced sales and revenue. And we lose control over our brand and product in Japan. We will see very little feedback from customers. So, financial risk. From a political standpoint, Japan has a very stable political environment, and their economy is growing, however slowly. A risk of this is that Japanese politics are heavily influenced by local businesses. Less so in recent years, but it's still a wall to overcome for external companies. From the commercial standpoint, there are few risks, but there are some key advantages. First is Japan's geographical location. Its location to the very east of Asia makes it a good starting point for exporting into other countries in Asia. The people of Japan are fairly wealthy on average. They have a high level of savings. 23% of the total GDP of the country is in savings. Japan also has a very diversified industry sector, especially when it comes to electronics. So some negative things would be that Japan suffers from massive debt and deflation issues, especially over the last couple of years. When it comes to the exchange rate, 100 yen is worth about $1. Japan has had a pretty stable exchange rate for the past 5 years. The financial crisis of 2008 really knocked it hard, but it's been stable. And finally, Japan has a low and sometimes negative interest rate. This is policy that has been established in order to help work on that massive debt issue. So, cultural dimensions. So Japan is very in the middle when it comes to individualism versus collectivism. Whereas China and Korea and places like that are very collectivist, Japan has a much greater Western influence, but still values loyalty highly in this culture. In terms of power distance, it's also unusual for Asia. Japan is very meritocratic, meaning the better you perform, the better you're liked. Japan is also extremely risk adverse. It's one of the highest in the world. They very much like to be prepared. It's speculated this comes from the vulnerability of Japan to natural disasters like earthquakes, tsunamis, things like that. Japan also has one of the highest masculine numbers in the world. Japan in Japan, this is mostly demonstrated in group competitions, not so much in the individual. Japan is a low pragmatism society, and they value restraint over your individualism. In terms of indulgence, they're also fairly low. Japanese workers are notoriously workaholics. In terms of product design, since the solid-state drive is an internal hardware piece, there's no need to change any design aspects. Even in functionality like wattage and things like that, that's all handled by, for example, the power source. So there's no changes necessary. So for taxes and tariffs, they're pretty generally low. Since Japan is so dependent on imports for their goods, they have to have a low import tax, just as a way to attract importers. So in Japan, for this product, you're only going to pay one tax once, and that's going to be when you bring it into the country. So in terms of payment options, we have two good options for us. First of all, letters of credit, because of the little risk that is shown to the buyer or the seller. This makes it a very much preferred method of payment, especially between buyers and sellers that aren't very comfortable with each other yet. The other one is open account. Even though this is very high risk to us, it is the preferred method with buyers, and it in reality just builds trust between companies. And it never hurts that you can insure your collections. So for distribution, our Incoterms are going to be CIP. This is because our shipments are going to be very expensive. We're going to make sure we can insure those. It's very much a big risk losing those at sea. Our shipping is easily containerized, and we definitely want an exclusive contract with a shipper, something that preferably benefits us. A good way to work on our distribution channels here is to seek new channels through trade shows. Since Japan is a very electronic-heavy nation, there are many electronic trade shows that happen in the country. And since we are doing an indirect strategy here, it's very important that we spend time meeting with and building relations with our third-party representatives. So when it comes to international advertising, we have an advantage in that Cisco is a well-known worldwide company. We have a booth every year at the CTEC trade show, which is the second largest electronic trade show in the world, and that's held in Tokyo every year. And given that Japan's culture is very accepting of Western culture, we don't really have to change a whole lot. We even have some opportunities to modify our marketing just because Japan is known for some rather absurd marketing tactics. So in conclusion, let's look at our SWOT analysis. So our strengths. We are a large, well-established company. We're respected. People know us and trust our products. We already have established exporting logistics. We already have the lanes. We know the people, everything. It's easy for us to make money. We have a very high credit rating. It's easy for us to get loans, things like that. And we already have an established customer support base. Looking at our weaknesses, since this is a new type of product for us, it's going to be somewhat untested. We can only do so much in the laboratory. We're really going to need feedback from our customers. We also are relying heavily on our third parties, which really takes the control out of our hands. We also have very little marketing experience in Japan. So once again, it comes back to that reliance on third parties. In terms of opportunities, as I said before, this is a new product for us, but it's also something that we can work on and grow with if we're prepared to take the plunge. This is also a new market. As soon as we're able to get our brand in there, we will absolutely thrive. we have competitors, but they're very much less known than we are. New technologies always provide new opportunities for growth in a market, and our new partnerships with our third-party sellers and marketers, as well as our shippers, can really help grow our business. Threats. As I said before, we have competitors. We have lots of competitors, even though they're not well known, but that can change. Japan is a shrinking economy, well, not economy, a shrinking population. So we always have to keep that in mind, that our market size is shrinking. Japan is, even though they're steadily growing, it is very slow, and they are considered a stagnant economy. And then finally, technology is always rapidly advancing, so we need to make sure we're keeping up with the latest. And that's all I have to say, so thank you.